After taking a closer look at the transom, it became clear it was needing a replacement. In this video, I'm going over how I removed the old transom wood, repaired and protected the transom aluminum from corrosion, including a new protective outboard mounting plate, and building and installing a new transom made from exterior plywood. The first step to the transom rebuild was getting the old transom out. I was hoping it would be an easy swap with the previous transom being bolted and not riveted, but thanks to the support brackets that was not the case. Getting the top section of the transom out was pretty easy. After unbolting it, I was just able to pry out the wood. The back piece of the transom though was just too big to slide out behind the brackets. After a few attempts at trying to wiggle it past the supports, I gave up and used a saw to cut the board in half. Once split, it was easy to take it out in sections. At first, I was going to use these pieces as a template to rebuild the new transom, but after seeing as how this was a homemade job, I decided to make it a little bit better. I'm going to be going 11.5 inches down and then spanning the whole length of the transom for the backing piece. The second layer piece, which is what the outboard mounts into on the top, I've increased that from 5 inches to 7 inches to come down further and just really bulk up the whole transom. 3/4 inch exterior plywood was readily available at Lowe's in a quarter sheet size, which ended up being around $20 for the wood. While I was there, I had them rip the board into the rough sizes I needed, which saved me some time. Since the boards were already cut to size, the first thing I did before shaping it to fit was using epoxy to glue the two pieces of wood together. Doing so strengthens the wood connection and creates a watertight seal between the pieces. Once the epoxy had time to cure, I used the exterior of the transom as a template to get the angles that I wanted to cut. I got the rough transom clamped to the boat once it was in position. I wanted to keep the angles as tight as possible to really reinforce the transom. After marking the angles, I cut the wood into shape using a circular saw or a jigsaw if the blade was not large enough to complete a cut. Okay, so now I'm trimming about a first layer of laminate off. This will account for the lip of the transom. I'm scoring it with a blade, and I'm just using this paint scraper to kind of knock it into the side, and it's just coming off real easy. I scored about 3/4 inch down the whole way through, used the paint scraper because I don't have a wood chisel, and just went through and knocked it all out. I'm just going to test fit this now and see if that's enough. I started a little bigger than would fit initially and slowly shaved it down until I finally fit it into place. Before I take this out completely to sand it down, clean it up, stain it and seal it and all that, is we need to drill the new holes. Once I had my final shape, I sanded the edges a little bit further as the sealer was going to add to its size. To seal and waterproof the wood, I ended up doing more than was needed based on how I ended up finishing it, but hindsight is 20/20. At first, I applied a wood stain and finished it with spar urethane. Originally, I wanted the transom to be more on display. I ended up changing my mind, coating the exterior of the transom with epoxy and painting it anyway. I'm going to get started on the transom plate that I'm going to be building. So the idea I'm going for, it's going to be a plate basically about right here, and then come down. 15.5 wide, 7.5, 1.5. So now we got our basic measurements and plan here. So there is our mounting plate. This should be plenty of plate here. This is going to overhang the top, and then this is going to get riveted in. I'm going to make a new plate, probably out of this material right over here. Just go on the front, the outboard to clamp to. Okay, that was incredibly loud. I'm hoping that these noise canceling headphones help me out a little bit with that. Okay. All right. Well, here's the plate. Let's see if it fits. How perfect is that? This whole idea ended up working perfectly, and I'm really happy I took the time to make these. The old transom was in pretty rough shape. With the outboard mounting plates and new transom prepped and ready for install, the next task was figuring out how to get the new transom into position on the boat. Well, I had to make a choice between cutting the top frame or drilling out the bottom rivets and then reattaching these with stainless hardware. I've decided to go the stainless hardware route, something I can do on my own. I had a very bad experience with a welder recently, so I'm doing everything in my power to avoid that. After drilling out the bottom of the rivets, the rivet caps are still pretty wedged in there. So what I went through on this one is I went and drilled out the rivets all the way from the bottom and then knocked them out that way. After drilling out the rivets for the support brackets, I cleaned them up and hit them with the coating of primer and black enamel. This was purely for protection, as it would be painted over once installed. I made sure to keep the mounting points bare, so when I installed them with sealant, it would form a good bond with the aluminum. The last thing I wanted to take care of before installing the new transom and mounting plate was cleaning up the corrosion behind the transom and protecting it for the future. To do this, I simply cleaned out as much of the pitting as possible using a wire wheel and a drill. Then I cleaned the area with acetone and applied a coating of enamel. This will never be seen behind the transom. Its main purpose is to put a layer of material between the bare aluminum and any moisture that might collect behind the transom. With everything prepped, it was time to install the transom. The first thing I did was apply sealant to all of the mounting locations on the interior of the boat. Next, I installed the sealed transom into position. I did my best to line up the holes like how they were drilled earlier, but after sealing and various adjustments, some of the holes needed to be re-drilled for the bolts to pass through. So things turned into an absolute mess, but everything seems to be getting sealed up. I'm now attaching the mounting plate. Alright guys, I'm back out here tonight to show you this masterpiece. Unfortunately, the caulking got a little out of hand during installation. Once that gets in your gloves, it just gets everywhere. Everything seems to be curing and nice and sealed. I did get the rivets all down the back plate here. Line all the edges of it with 5200, and the interior I actually used marine weld, the 2-part waterproof epoxy. All right guys, well that's all I have for you today on the transom rebuild. As you can see, it ended up turning out really awesome. After I got everything sealed up with the epoxy and then painted, I think it looks absolutely killer. I'm really happy that I decided to go with the painted route. It all came together really nice. On the back, the mounting plate worked fantastic. I've had no issues with it. I've had no leaks on any of the connections. Everything really worked out great. So if you guys have any questions about the rebuild or anything like that, feel free to drop me a comment below. If you want to see what's up next in the jonboat build, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And any of the products or anything I mentioned in the video will also have links in the description. All right, guys, thanks for watching.